Welcome to a throwback episode of Race Gang. I'm your host today, John Diekman. Today we are joined by your normal group, Gerald Hoppe,
What's up?
Jonathan Christopher,
But
and Jonathan Wall.
This is a throwback episode?
I'm just saying it was Darlington. Everything has to be throwback when it's Darlington, does it not?
We can if you want. I didn't know that.
well, then I'm changing my intro from sup to howdy partner because that seems like a older saying.
How do you do today,
Good
sir?
afternoon.
Yeah.
Talk to the morning to you, old chap.
Anyways,
We instantly just lost all of our listeners. All right, keep
yeah,
going.
we have this chat's over. We're done. We just lost everything. We're packing up, going home. Well, we'll talk about the throwback race. I think Xfinity threw on two great races, and we'll talk about breaking news that happened today because we are recording on a Wednesday. I wasn't watching the race. I kind of went camping, so someone take it away, Gerald, about the race.
Which one, Xfinity or a Cup or both?
Let's go with Cup first.
All right. Well, I may be in the minority here when I say it was a very good race, in my opinion, from start to finish. It was very interesting. I'm kind of glad it was such a long race. I even enjoyed the long green flag runs, just probably because of it being Darlington and how you can see how much the cars fall off. And I mean, there was points at the beginning of the race where they had that onboard shot of Kevin Harvick, and he was the leader, and he was struggling with his car. But I know we're going to talk about the news that broke today, but watching Denny Hamlin come from, I think it was like 23 seconds back after pretty much coming to a dead stop before when he missed pit road and straight up running down Truex was fun. I kind of wish they were able to battle it out because I'm not sure he would have been able to complete the pass because Truex then blew a tire, which was unfortunate for him. But overall, I think it was a good race, which probably will be looked down upon by the news today with the encumbered, or as people say, cucumbered finish.
I didn't get to see the whole race, but I was really busy doing other things. But I was able to catch like the last half of it or something. And I mean, it's not it's not the worst race we've had this season. Probably not the best. For Darlington though, I mean, you just gotta love the throwback race, man. I think that really saved that racetrack. And honestly, the fans in the stand didn't look half bad compared to other tracks this season.
yeah, I was gonna say I would say your butt to seat ratio was probably higher than any other track so far this season.
Yeah,
Probably,
the crowd looked fantastic from
Yeah.
TV anyway.
I would still
What?
like to see Goodyear bring a softer tire to that track, though. I would rather than bring the softest thing they make to every track, though.
I want to see that. I want to see Goodyear actually bring other tires as well, like a
Yeah.
harder and softer compound. But that's besides the point. So I think the beautiful thing is they found a way to get that mixture of like today's fans and yesteryear's fans and back into racing with the throwbacks and stuff like that. It's just amazing that that's the only thing that can work, though, it seems like NASCAR, with the fact that you have, all these, supposed to be new talent stars, junior, this and that, but the one race people care more about is either the 500, the Brickyard 400, and the throwback race.
When
And
you
the
look
Coke
at the way the
600.
races have been, I think the new talent coming in doesn't have an effect on how bad the racing's been at the mile and a halfs. All because, we have these Larsons, Elliots, Eric Jones, all them. It's not like they can improve the racing just by their own driving style. The cars are still the cars.
True. That's true. But I'm just saying, though, in the sense of there's not it not the youth movement isn't fully there, and it's just kind of like the only thing you really see people go for is, like I said, 500 to 600 Brickyard and the Southern 500.
I don't know if I'd even include the Brickyard in that category anymore.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
that was
that
empty
may
this
be.
year.
Well, I'll be honest, it's kind of sad because now that you bring it up, if you really break it down and think about it, the Brickyard and the Coke 600, in my opinion, are probably the worst two races all freaking season, man. Those races will make you it's like watching paint dry.
the Indianapolis is definitely that's one of my. I don't even buy if I watch it, I watch it. If I don't, whatever.
I think the rules package that they brought with the Xfinity Series to Indy is a really good step in the right direction with the air ducts on the front end.
I was so disappointed. I also missed that race, and I don't miss very many races, but that was one of the ones that I had my eye set on once they announced the rule changes, and I missed that one. But I heard it was like light years above what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, I miss all weekend. Sorry.
Yeah, you went to the Grand Canyon, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to the Grand Canyon. We're not going to go deep into that because it's racing, but if you haven't gone, I recommend going. I enjoyed myself thoroughly there, but I'm also weird and stuff, so there's that too.
Well, the second race you missed, the Xfinity race, had arguably one of the best finishes of the season in all of NASCAR.
So what? Like, tell me, Gerald, what was the finish like?
Sure thing, John. Well, the whole race wasn't that good, but coming down to the end, it was weird because the two cars that ended up being illegal were battling it out for the win.
What was a better finish? Because I watched Road America, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. What was a better finish?
Oh, man. Well, it's hard to say because, in my opinion, Darlington had a better final lap, but the last 15 laps of Road America was great.
I would say the ending of that Xfinity race could be, with the exception of the beating and banging, dooring each other to the line, you could compare it to the Craven Busch race back in 2004, where they were just swapping back and forth for the last lap or two. And then that last final pass coming out of 4 that Hamlin put on Logano, I will admit, was pretty sweet. But
I'm gonna go Road America on this one for the simple fact that the race Saturday was great, but it was two Cup drivers. Hashtag names are made here.
And like I said, both cars ended up being illegal.
Yeah, so I think you got to go with Road America if you just consider all the
absolutely
the circumstances. Vince gets his first win. Granted, he had to kind of run a guy over, but everybody can know it was a complete mistake. Speaking of which, what are you guys' opinions of did anybody see the ending to the truck race?
Yeah.
Austin Cindric bumps Kaz Grala out of the way.
Well,
more like dumps.
Yeah, that's another race I missed.
Scott, let's hear your opinion on that.
well, for one, the track, there's two passing zones, if that. There's really not even that. There's not a great passing zone on that racetrack. So, and if you're Kaz Grala, don't you kind of expect that's going to happen, but on the last lap at some point? I mean,
isn't this like a recurring thing I'm sorry, I didn't watch the race, but this is like the second or third time at that
it's
track.
The third straight time, I believe, or fourth straight.
I know Elliott did it to
Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon, and then last year you had John Hunter Nemechek doing it to what's his name?
Good old Cole Custer.
Custer, yeah. And then too bad. I will say in those two situations, it was coming out of the last turn, and and John Hunter Nemechek didn't even necessarily dump Custer. He just doored him into the wall all the way down the front stretch,
Well, that's a whole nother story for another day, but I think the difference for me is I don't know, they were up in that weird kind of kink part of the racetrack when he hit him.
The keyhole.
The keyhole, there you go. And he did, obviously he was faster. He gained on him. He got all the way to his bumper, and he didn't even race the guy. He just ran him off the race. I mean, just sent him off the racetrack without even giving him a chance.
He still had 5 more corners.
Now, we can all argue that, this is just a product of the playoff format racing, but
And
at
I
the
want
end
to
of the
say,
day, man, you got to sit back and look at your racecraft. I mean,
and I want to say,
from-
Cindric even said that's just the product of the way NASCAR's gone. I mean, NASCAR's have put those guys in a situation where you almost have to just wreck the guy in front of you in order to win a race. Whether that's a legitimate statement or not. I mean,
But I don't like him using that as almost an excuse because like Jay Wall said,
okay,
he
but
didn't
then
even
what's the
try
difference?
to pass him.
Then what's
He
the difference
got to him and
between
wrecked
the Road America finish and then this finish? Because that was almost
they
a
raced
similar-
the last 4 laps.
Yeah, Clemens
Yeah,
actually tried to pass.
Well, Clemens
and screwed up.
hung him down. He didn't try. I mean, all right, fair enough.
No,
fair
he
enough.
Yeah.
did.
I didn't
I
watch
would-
the race. I didn't watch the race. So I'm trying to like.
Yeah, Clemens admitted that was his fault.
He didn't
That
just dump him. He wheel
Just-
hopped going into the corner trying to
Yeah,
pass
just-
him.
got in there a little too hot and got sideways. But I know that's probably who was it that he dumped? What was the guy that was Tift? Was it Matt
Yeah.
Tift? Yeah,
That
and,
Road America, yeah.
yeah, and but in his defense, Tift had to know also that I just got ran down the last handful of laps. This guy's right on my bumper. I mean, you never know what can happen. I understand. You never, you don't quit racing until you get the checkered flag. But I mean, had he not accidentally got dumped there, he was probably going to get passed anyways.
Yeah, but in that case too, at Road America, Clements, that was, in my honest opinion, that was probably 100% accident. And if Clements could have spun out into the gravel and lost the race himself. But in Cindric's case, he knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that was
dumped
definitely
him
premeditated.
and kept going.
Yeah, he definitely bump and ran, and then whereas Clemens was, I mean, he spun himself out in the process. So.
Yeah, he was just lucky they were so far ahead of Michael Annett in third.
Well, I think that for the most part, anyways, we all kind of agree that it was not the way that we wanted to see him get his first win or want to see anybody raced, and that it was kind of a chicken shit move, so to speak. And so now with all that being said, I mean, to play devil's advocate, you got to sit there and think, if you're Austin Cindric, just like we mentioned before, the history of that racetrack, look what happened to Chase Elliott when he did what he did. Whether he did it on purpose and wrecked Ty Dillon or whatever happened, he won that race. People knew who Chase Elliott was, but he'd been running in the trucks, and that win got him on the map.
Yeah.
He went to Junior Motorsports. We all know the history from there. So if you're Austin Cindric, and then also, who was it that did it last year?
Because didn't Austin Cindric
John Hunter. John Hunter took out Custer, or ran him off the racetrack or whatever. But anyways, if you're Austin Cindric, man, you got to think, man, hey, I don't want to race this way, but doing this could propel my career.
Well, and also the chase. I mean, a lot of these smaller teams aren't going to get in from points. No.
Well, I mean, I don't think.
And doesn't Cindric also, isn't this his last year? Doesn't he race for Brad Keselowski, who's closing at the end of the year?
He does, exactly.
So, I mean, if he doesn't have a win to his name, there you go. Now he's finally got his first win. Everybody knows who he is now, and he's fixing to be out of a ride.
He's proving he'll do whatever it takes to win, too,
Uh-huh.
I think that's a lot of it, too.
Well, I don't know if most of you know, but Austin Cindric's dad is I don't know if he's CEO or what, of Penske. I don't know if it's the Penske truck rental or something with the Penske name. So I don't think he's going to have a problem.
Oh, I'm sure most of those guys on the racetrack, with the exception of a rare few, are there because of their parents. So let's just be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
But
it's kind of
regardless,
unfortunate, but
yeah, regardless, I think Austin Cindric, of course, he would love to win the race and love to win a championship. But honestly, that move right there, I think he was thinking career. He wasn't thinking, oh man, this is getting in is just a bonus. I feel like
Probably.
I don't know how far out he was of the point standings. I don't know if he could have pointed his way in. I don't know if he had to win. but I see what you're going at. But Austin Cindric also, he was picked as the favorite to win that race because he comes from a road course background, and he's driven a lot of different cars on road courses. He didn't really get into NASCAR until recently.
Well, the bottom line is he didn't have to. He didn't have to do what he did. I think he could have easily passed and won the race. But
Or
anyways,
waited to the last corner like Chase Elliott did. It would have been better.
Yeah. So moving on,
That's
guys.
like the history of that track.
Yep. That track's
moving-
really not designed for those stock cars or trucks in any form or fashion.
No, not at all.
All right.
But so we'll go with the breaking news. The fact that both of Denny Hamlin's win have been encumbered. And same with the 22 of Joey Logano at the Xfinity Series. From what the reports say, all it says is rear suspension.
Something with the skew or the rear. I was watching NASCAR America before, and Jeff Burton was explaining it pretty well that the teams are doing their best to try to get the rear ends to skew and move. Remember the whole deal with the swerving last year?
Yeah, well, it's just going back to like when the COT cars first came out, when like you could see like the whole back end, like the cars will almost be diagonal when they come out.
Yeah, they're crab walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something with that. I'm pretty sure it may have been the same thing that Logano got busted for at Richmond earlier.
I think it probably will be.
Do you guys think that what NASCAR did is, a fair move, too harsh, not enough? Where are you guys' stance on it?
Me, I think, and we've talked about this before, and I still stand by my argument that look, you can like or dislike Joe Gibbs. Me, for one, I do not like Joe Gibbs racing, and nor do I like Denny Hamlin. However, it has always been a facet of the sport to be the team that finds the edge. Joe Gibbs has been that team, whether you like him or not, for the past couple of years. Regardless of how they do it, the goal in stock car racing is to push the boundaries, to push the rules, to find that extra tenth of speed
And that's
to
any
win the
racing
race.
too. That's just not NASCAR. That's every form of
that's
racing,
any
top to
racing,
bottom.
and you can't blame it. That's that's part of the sport. That's why they do what they do. That's why you have the mechanical geniuses that are on there, the teams, and making the cars do these things that they're not supposed to do. So, do I blame Denny Hamlin and Joe Gibbs Racing? No. Do I like it and do I think it looks good for the sport? Absolutely not. But I think until NASCAR takes a stance that says, hey, this win is encumbered, stupidest damn term I've ever heard. But regardless, if they don't take the win away and hand it to whoever was in second place, they're going to keep doing it.
Oh.
If that's what NASCAR wants to do. Now, I don't think NASCAR needs to crack down, per se, more on that. I think that it's always been what NASCAR was all about. This is no surprise. I mean, you think back, Richard Petty, how many cars? I've heard all kinds of stories about what stuff that his cars did.
No, exactly. And like what we said, this isn't even just NASCAR. It's every rule of racing. That's the reason why they give teams a window to put their car so that teams can do that. You know what I mean? If NASCAR didn't, or if racing series didn't want that, they would make the car themselves and then give it to the teams.
Yeah,
but,
I'm all for playing in the gray area, but if you got busted, then you need to be disqualified.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the thing? Do you guys
Not busted. I mean, you got caught cheating.
Do you guys agree with NASCAR's penalties, or do you think that it's not hard enough?
I think if you win the race and you fail post-race inspection because you obviously tampered with the rear end of the car and it's outside the parameters of the rule book, then I absolutely agree with Jay Wall. They need to take that trophy and go, look, who came in second? Oh, here you go. Congratulations, you just won the race.
And it would have been Kyle Busch, whose car did pass tech.
Then I would have said, no, who came in third?
No, just skip over Kyle Busch because it's Kyle Busch.
But when you're talking about pushing the limits, Have you ever heard of? This is back in like the '60s. Smokey Yunick. You guys have heard that guy, right?
Yeah.
When NASCAR when they reduced the size of the fuel tank, and his big, kind of not really a claim to fame, but one of the kind of the rumors in the garage area was that because everybody was like, man, he went out there, ran the race, and took that same car and drove all the way back home. Never filled it back up full of gas. It was like, yeah, NASCAR said I could only have like a 20-gallon tank. They never specified the length of the fuel line because everybody's like, he probably had 10 gallons of gas just in the fuel line alone, snaked back and forth underneath the car. So stuff like that, I absolutely agree with crew chiefs pushing the limits. But when you start actually changing the structure of the car to manipulate the way it drives to win a race or to get an advantage, then and you get caught, then you definitely should be punished.
Well, if it's a rule, then yeah, you need to be punished for it, regardless. And not only that, but it looks bad for the sport. You got to think, Denny Hamlin just won the Southern Throwback 500.
NASCAR made such a big deal of it.
They encumbered his win. Now, the way that it looked, Denny Hamlin doesn't get it for that win. And we just ran a Southern 500 that there was technically no winner of.
Well, I
How
think
bad does that look?
I
For the
think
entire
he still
Throwback
has.
weekend, there's technically no winner of.
I think
Exactly.
he still has the W in the book, so to speak.
Yeah, he'll still have the win. He just is not receiving the
Just,
points
yeah,
or the playoff
the
points.
playoff
Right.
points
Well, they
and
need to
all
take
that.
it away. Point blank,
Correct.
period.
Yep.
And what is it? There's no points to playoff points, as well as I think it's 25 under points and driver points were taken away.
Was that Hamlin's first race win this year?
No.
Okay,
He
so
won
it
at
doesn't
New
even really
Hampshire?
matter.
Won at New Hampshire?
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all to him. Like, it really does mean nothing.
Yeah, there's really no harm, no foul with that at all for them.
It
I
didn't-
think,
Definitely didn't hurt his season like it did to Logano.
yeah, because Logano still doesn't look like he's gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah, he can somehow win next week though. Because yes, he did win at Richmond before, and I know his car was illegal and all that stuff. But I mean, they still have speed there.
Yeah, those Penske's were the class of the field that race. So quick note, Jay or Tops, you might know Marble or Philip Morris. They own the tobaccos and all that. Did you hear about the news with them in Formula One?
Why would I know about tobacco?
Because
No.
Marble just signed a contract with Ferrari Motorsports for the F1 program, which now I know we don't really talk about F1 in here. I know Gerald and Jay, well, you guys aren't F1 fans like Chops and myself, but
I'm an
I
F1
think
fan.
but I'm saying you're not follow the sport. But my question isn't so much the fact that of what it is. It's the fact that I think we're at the point again where we'll see tobacco sponsorships in racing again, or because the theory I heard behind this is the fact that they bought the sponsorship rights, but then they're going to sell those rights to another company.
That would make more sense because I know that's can't have. I mean, this happened a long time ago. I don't remember the specifics necessarily, but it's one of the reasons why you don't see tobacco on billboards. You only see like smokeless tobacco articles like in magazines or something like Dip.
Well, yeah, they've recently. I think, like I was saying in an article that I was reading, that F1 banned tobacco sponsorships in 2007.
Yeah. Now I could
back
see
in the Michael Schumacher era, they were big with
yeah.
them.
I could see same with McLaren too, wasn't it?
Yep.
McLaren in the early 90s when Senna was there and all that. Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, the things that you can't advertise. I mean, you can't advertise it. That's why you don't see cigarette commercials either anymore. But I was going to say, if F1 themselves, the sanctioning body, the FIA or whatever, actually banned it, and that's one thing. I was thinking maybe they could put that advertisement on the side of a car if they're racing in Spain or another country that doesn't care. But once they come here to Dakota, then they'd probably have to take it off or change the name or something like that. But yeah, if Philip Morris, if Marlboro bought the side of your race car, but they said, hey, we just wanted to buy the space, and we're going to put this product on the side of it. It's not in any affiliation with cigarettes or dip or alcohol or whatever, then who cares? It's kind of a moot point, right? But it's still kind of cool, I guess. Maybe if I think here we are, Throwback podcast, right? Just the nostalgia of having an old school, sponsorship like Marlboro back into the sport in one form or fashion is kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, because that was a car that. And that's what, if you know Formula One, Michael Schumacher, and that's the sponsorship that Michael was wearing when he won 7 championships was Marlboro and Ferrari Red. And I just think do you think that this may be a new trend with companies that they'll buy space, not necessarily sponsor the car?
I really only see that with the F1. Because only in F1 you really can guarantee the sale of that space on the car. You can't. NASCAR has too much trouble finding sponsors as it is now. But to the original point, honestly, that's one thing that I think. And I'm an old school guy, but honestly, I really think that's one thing that F1 and the FIA got right. I don't think they have a place in advertisement. They kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up around smoking my whole life. Everybody in my family smokes but me. And it's just not a good thing. And if people choose to do it, then that's fine. But let's not put it in their faces either.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I smoke, but I don't necessarily agree with banning it. But I'm also don't disagree with not seeing it either. But like you said, when it comes to kids and going, oh yeah, mommy, I want that new Kyle Busch shirt. Okay, which one? Oh, the one right there that's got the Joe Camel on the front of it. No, my little 7-year-old kid's not wearing that. You know what I'm saying?
Do you guys see a difference between having, like, say, a tobacco commercial or having the insane amount of alcohol commercials on every sporting event?
That's what I was getting ready. That's what I was getting ready to say. Is do you think that? Is it something that like a catch-22 that we allow alcohol everywhere and not just racing, but
that's
also
a fair point.
All sports?
Because that's a fair point. But the difference
drinking
from
driving,
right? The difference for me though is that alcohol, when consumed properly, does not give you cancer. Of course, if you're an alcoholic, you can develop cirrhosis of the liver.
Exactly.
Which is technically, liver. I don't know if that's liver cancer, so to speak. But anyways,
we're not.
There's different things that can happen, but
here.
Right,
WebMD doctors gang now.
But it's a valid point. But at the same time, I don't think alcohol. If you go look at the stats, and I don't know where these stats are, but I guarantee you, cigarettes have killed more people and harmed more families than alcohol has.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree. No, and I'm not arguing that. It's just kind of like, do you think it's almost like?
I will tell you this, especially when you're talking about NASCAR, you're talking about a sport that was born off of prohibition. You're never going to get alcohol out of NASCAR.
Yeah, I agree with that.
True, I agree with that.
Doesn't I think some affiliation with RCR? I think Hemrick and in the truck series, the GMS truck of Johnny Sauter, haven't they both run Smoky Mountain snuff cars?
I know Johnny Sauter has at some point.
So, and I know I haven't seen any advertising commercials or anything like that for them, but why do you guys think that's allowed?
Maybe it's just
probably
you can't
because it's the fact that it's a personal. Like smoking, it's in front of everybody. You know what I mean? There's the smell, the smoke, whatever.
You're affecting other people outside of yourself.
Okay,
whereas,
yeah, I get what you mean.
Spit like dip and stuff like that. you're spinning into the bar or into the
You
ground.
can't get
you know what I mean?
secondhand.
Yeah,
dip.
there's no secondhand dip unless you spin someone's mouth. I mean,
we're getting
Or
too
you
far.
spit into a solo cup and you spit into a solo cup and the buddy sitting right next to you at the race has had a few pops and he goes to grab his drink and grabs your dip cup instead. I mean,
it happens.
Hey, real quick, I know this is a huge stretch, but it was a few races back. It was earlier this season. I want to say it's the 66. I don't even know who drives that car. It's the green and yellow car.
Cody, where?
They were in a
51. I think it's Carl.
Long. They were in a state. I forget which track it was that had recently passed. Marijuana was legal, and they were going to run a pots paint scheme.
Oh, that's right.
Like a dispensary scheme or something. One of the dispensaries.
Sure
and
were.
NASCAR said, "Nope, you're not running that." And so they made them take all the decals off, and he just ran a plain green and yellow. Now, if you're in a state that recognizes it as legal, I know it's still federally against the law. Does NASCAR have the right to tell you cannot run that?
Well,
I
they
think
do because
so.
it's their sport.
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, I think
Because
it's,
you're broadcasting to the entire nation, not just one state.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
No,
and
if it's a
also-
local short track in the state, then yeah, go ahead, but not national.
Yeah, because you're on national, so like say if the race was in, I know the only race it would have to be was California, right?
It might have been.
It had to be because that's the only state that I can think of that's legal that NASCAR goes to. Washington, Oregon, Colorado.
There's quite a
is-
few states that are legal, but I don't know about racetracks being in them.
Like I said, I think California's the only one.
Or it might have
But
been
anyway,
like Las Vegas or something like that. I don't know.
No, because I don't think it's legal. No, never mind.
Anyways, yeah.
Political gang, or weed gang, but I think it's kind of like an image thing, like same thing with smoking. Like, is it illegal in every state? No, it might be illegal to smoke inside restaurants or bars, but you can go walk outside and smoke a cigarette. I mean, you're not gonna get arrested. Whereas most states, you walk outside, smoke weed, you're gonna get in trouble. And I think that's kind of like where the line might be for right now. Now, what happens when weed becomes legal in all 50 states? That would be interesting to see.
Well, it would be easier for NASCAR at that point to do something because it's more widely accepted, or even if it's not, it's still got to be not technically against any rules. So
Well, didn't they also do something with Confederate flag? Like they didn't allow it or something in the infield?
That was a few years ago.
Yeah. They banned it from from the infield or inside racetracks.
Which, did that even last?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, when you're talking about, alcohol, cigarettes, weed, I mean, if one of your most popular drivers in the early 2000s can drive around in a penis pill car, I think the rest of it should be fair game.
I
Mark
think
Martin
there's
driving
no
the
other race
Pfizer
racing
car.
than
Viagra
NASCAR
doesn't cause
that has-
cancer though, and it's not illegal.
No, still. Hey,
but it
guys.
is more of a
I got this
thing.
hard on it 200 miles an hour.
It's sexually suggestive, but I mean,
I'm just
Okay.
saying. Kind of weird.
anyways,
Yeah.
Yeah, now that we're way off track. By the way, in F1, for those of you who do follow, Lewis Hamilton's won 2 straight since the summer break, and now has the championship lead, 3 points over Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari. Constructors, Mercedes just slightly pulled away. They finished 1-2 with Bottas second. But I want to stick with F1 a bit with Fernando Alonso with the struggling McLaren. Do you think you will see a top-tier Formula One driver leave the sport to race in another series? Because rumors are still strong that he might go to IndyCar.
Well, did you hear his response to that direct question on Sunday?
No, because I wasn't
Oh, that's right.
watching. Yep.
You
Yeah,
were riding
trend.
donkeys, weren't you?
Post race interview, they asked him. They're like, "Are you, because I guess he said during the weekend that he's got some news he was going to announce later this week. I think it's tomorrow, as a matter of fact, regarding his future. And Will Buxton asked him, he was like, "Well, I'm not going to say specifically right now, but we've been talking. He's been talking with Andretti Motorsports. He said Formula One is still definitely on the table. and the WEC also. And I know apparently Mark Webber's been reaching out to him and saying, "Don't pass up a WEC ride if you get one."
Well,
But
I think
just
the
'cause-
problem with WEC is the fact that Porsche pulled out, said they're going to only race at 24 Le Mans. The only car, the only one that's in it right now is Toyota in the WEC top tier program anyway. Now, would he race GT3 cars?
I was going to say, I could see an Italian like him being back in a Ferrari.
He's Spanish.
Or Spaniard. It's close enough.
Yeah. No, it's not.
They're not that
That's
far away.
racist. And we're off the air.
Speaking of racism, how about we go back to Ken Squire's awesome quote?
So
the
yeah, you
Southern
told me this
500.
before. I don't know.
It is not racist at all, and
Didn't he call
wasn't.
Daniel Suarez the Mexican?
Well,
They do that
It
in F1
wasn't
all the
racist
time,
at
and
all.
there's nobody even bats an eye. I don't know why
yeah,
Ken
just like
Squire
he
would
called
get.
Jones boy. It's just the old-fashioned announcing. That's all.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just a more sensitive world we live in, where everybody's offended by something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, heaven forbid
Isn't he
you're from
technically
Mexico,
from
and you're.
Mexico?
Yeah, I mean
So
he's
he
from.
is a Mexican.
Yeah, he's from Monterrey, Mexico.
That's like if he called every other driver in the field the American. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when you're the only
Hey.
one outside the country, it's a lot easier to pinpoint you by saying, "Oh, you know the Mexican over there." Doesn't just because you call the Mexican person a Mexican, that's not derogatory. I never
Well, it's
understood
been
that.
used derogatory ways before, but
Oh, I understand.
I mean, it just Ken Squire. He's no longer an announcer. He's just doing it to help NASCAR with the Throwback series, and he means it from a good place. So
Throwback
Yeah.
weekend to throwback racism. I like it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was saying. You listen to any F1 broadcast, and between David
Yeah,
Hobbs,
The
I
German.
mean, he
the
calls
Britain-
them the Germans, the Mexicans,
German,
the Italians. I mean, it's just you're just talking
No,
about their
and
nationality.
I'm not trying to say or I don't think we're all trying to say in a sense of did he mean to be racist? It's just like
Now,
It's just
now
kinda-
if he said the filthy Mexican, then but,
that would be
but
racist.
he did not.
Or if you use a different slur or something like.
Yeah, which I don't see him doing at all.
Man, speaking of Suarez, I was kind of off topic, but did any of y'all ever see the kind of the road to victory thing that NBC, I think it was NBC or Fox did, where they took the camera crews, they followed him back home, and showed where he grew up and his dad's shop and all that kind of stuff?
No, I
did
didn't
not
see
see that.
Dude, the shop his dad's got, he repairs like because they still I don't know if they still manufacture, but for the longest time they still manufactured the Volkswagen Bug in Mexico. So you could buy a brand new like 2005 old school Bug, and that's what he repairs. Dude, that guy has some badass bugs in his shop. And
Those are two words I never thought would be correlated to each
Badass
other.
bugs.
Hey, my very first car was a 72 Bug. Those things were
Aren't you
badass.
old?
I
it
didn't
gets
buy him
farther and farther
72, you
badass.
jerk.
Kind of similar to Bad Boy Buggies. Sponsor
Yeah.
plug.
Hell yeah.
Hey,
Um,
too bad we're not sponsored.
Hey.
While we're talking about Suarez, though, how about Subway pulling the sponsorship from underneath him?
Well, did you read how they only did? It was only for one race, though.
Well,
mean,
no,
no.
but they put out
they-
NASCAR.
No.
Yeah.
They pulled out one race short. Is what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but they pulled out of the sport completely.
Yeah.
Like they not only did they pull them, but they also, said that they weren't coming back.
Yeah. I read where it had something to do because him and
Rutledge Wood.
Rutledge Woods were passing out Dunkin' Donuts, and just because they said something along the lines, I know I'm gonna. It's not.
No,
it's
they
not
were just handing out free
verbatim.
donuts. That was it. They were just handing out free donuts.
Yeah. It has something to do with the fact that since Subway serves breakfast too, it was kind of a
I didn't even think of them as competitors. Those two,
conflict of
honestly.
it
I
was a
didn't either.
conflict of interest to a degree, and Joe Gibbs came out and said, "Well, Daniel Suarez is under no moral obligation to only eat Subway."
Like if he was
So-
handing out Quiznos subs to everybody,
Yeah.
then I would understand. But,
Yeah.
donuts?
Now, I posed 3 theories on why they might pulled out. They speculate or the speculation is the fact of that because of competitors. Another one could be just that they wanted a way out, so they just took it out. And another one is, do you think maybe because they didn't want to sponsor Daniel Suarez, because they signed with Carl Edwards, not Daniel Suarez, and do you think that might have been their scapegoat to say?
Well, has Subway been on an Xfinity car for Suarez in the past?
I don't think so.
Purple.
Do you want? I'd be curious as how strong Subway is as a company after financially after the whole Jared debacle.
Well, they have more stores than McDonald's.
Well, I'm just saying if it's not financially, like, maybe they're trying to do damage control. I don't know. Maybe they just don't want anybody. I don't know.
Well, I don't think honest, I have Subway in the fridge right now.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I've eaten Subway since Jared fucked little kids. So, I mean, my bad. But, I was just curious if maybe pulling out of the sport altogether,
Jesus Christ.
I mean, whatever.
Ryan, if your editing skills are on for this weekend.
What?
Oh, man.
Oh, that is...
back
amazing.
to the Mexican.
Yeah.
No,
moving on. Whatever.
So that's the fourth time we've been off air today. I should say, welcome to a racy episode of Race Game. Throwback.
Oh, well.
Oh,
Salty.
God.
Salty.
Does anyone follow IndyCar? Are we going to really talk about IndyCars?
Yeah, man. What you got?
I mean, it's a close championship battle they got.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Newgarden win it. I don't know.
I did.
What is that song? To be the first American to win the championship in like how long? Does anyone know that?
When he took, when he took the points lead earlier this season, that was the first time an American has led in IndyCar since like 2013.
Yeah, whatever year Ryan Hunter-Reay won was the last time. I'm not too familiar with that, so I'm not going to peg down a year, but I want to say it was around 2013, 2012 maybe.
I'm just going to Google it because we're all by our computers, and that would be smart.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have an American win it. I mean, don't get me wrong. If Scott Dixon ends up winning it, I'll be happy just fine with Dixon winning it too.
2012 would be the
right
then, and it's an Australian dominant actually. Dixon twice and Will Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also seen a news article talking about how low the ratings were for the last IndyCar race.
Yeah, they've been on this, like, you think NASCAR's been struggling. IndyCar's in a worse spot than they are for a long time.
I just think they need more prestigious races. The Indy 500 is so big, but then what else do they have?
Exactly. I mean,
I'm gonna spice up the episode even more. You know what we need? We need somebody to kneel during the national anthem, and you'll get unlimited media coverage.
Spicy.
Oh God.
Unlimited.
Hey,
Right,
have to. I mean, if you watch the national anthem at an Indy race, half those guys don't even cover their heart anyways, because they're not Americans.
I was going to say most of them aren't American. So
if you're overseas or something, and you didn't know who the 49ers were before all that, now you do.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, that's another tangent. So.
Oh man, we're a mess today.
Well, I guess on that note, guys, it was kind of one of those let's wing it kind of an episode. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. Real quick, next week this weekend is going to be Richmond final race. Final race for the before the chase. Do we see maybe Joey Logano get that win?
I hope not.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. Do we think the points are pretty much where they're at?
I think they are.
Unless someone from down there somehow ends up winning. Yeah, I think Kenseth is 16th and he has like an 80-point cushion or something like that because Boyer blew up last week or whatever.
Unless Somebody's
Yeah.
arm starts itching, I'd be good.
Yeah, I think Danica might have some itchy arms for Boyer this week.
Or do we see Junior win? Because Junior best track, technically speaking, is Richmond.
As a Junior fan, Junior ain't winning the rest of the season.
No.
Let alone possibly not even his Cup career. If he's going to race limited, I mean, I hate to be so blunt about it, but I can see the writing on the wall.
Dega's there.
I was going to say, unfortunately, I think his best shot at winning another race the rest of this season is probably going to be Dega.
He hasn't
Good.
even been relevant at a plate track since, 2015?
Oh no, he was
Well,
good
he-
at Daytona. He was good this year. He just kept on getting in wrecks.
Yeah.
He was leading the Daytona 500 when the jack wagons in front of him wouldn't get out of his way and wrecked him while he was in first place.
Yeah, so
So we're pretty content.
And
Everyone
with
agrees.
him having a new crew chief, it may change things for the better. But winning, no.
I hope so. I don't. As a JL Junior fan, I gave Greg Ives the benefit of the doubt, but I'm with you all. He hasn't lived up to my expectations.
praise hell, praise jail.
And I guess with that, picks for Richmond, excluding we're going to stay with the trend excluding Toyotas.
Best in class.
Do we all pick underdogs, or do we just want to pick anybody not JGR?
Yeah, just pretty much anyone not JGR.
All right, Chop, go. Who you got?
I say you get someone who's already won.
But
All right, so
Okay, well, give us a
13
name.
of them.
So I don't know who that's going to be, but I say.
Well, give us somebody.
Oh, you know what? I'll go Boyer just because
Ooh, that'll change.
he's got
things
to. He's got to win to make it.
The savvy pick.
okay, I like that.
Gerald, who you got?
I was going to say you negative.
up.
I know,
You know
I
what?
diverted
Screw
it.
Jay, well, I go first. I'm going to go out on a half limb and say Jamie McMurray.
I like that. Pick.
Nice. I like
I like
that.
it too.
I'm gonna go Harvick.
That's
I
a
think
good pick.
he's not been, I think he's just the king of Richmond, man. I don't care what kind of car he's in. He's the king.
I think one driver that none of you even kind of alluded to, which I'm surprised to, was Lasky, the other Penske.
Penske's struggling.
I don't know.
I thought about
think,
them.
I think this, if there's a race to come back to show where you're at, this is it.
Yeah,
And-
well, Penske's struggling.
Done. Are we done?
Okay.
and on that note, we will end today's episode. I might not be at the next episode, so you might have a new host, probably Jay
Good
Wall.
luck in surgery, bud.
Robotic arm's gonna be so nice. But yeah,
Don't leave it up to me.
I don't know who we're gonna have.
Who would be here to
also-
censor Chop?
Hey, no.
Please, no one censors him. No one censors any of us.
Yeah, that's yeah, you're right.
We're on YouTube, Stitch, Podbeam, Facebook, Twitter. Probably not. Like I said, please give us likes, shares, and do subscribe. Give us information, feedback. Like I said, we want to keep this going. Need you, the audience, to let us know our goods and bads. Like, is winging a good idea? Probably not. With that being said, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in another 2 weeks.